Coach Prime Deion Sanders has a great idea for spring football. And he also takes a shot at those who canceled their spring game. Nebraska, USC, Ohio State. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that free subscribe button down below. That way you'll never miss an episode. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKDOWNCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So, a great new idea for the spring game. We'll drop it on you. Plus, Indiana has a new basketball coach. That was fast. What's next for Iowa and Minnesota, as they also have coaching openings? And we'll have our spring football power rankings. We do power rankings in the middle of the week. We're in spring football. We'll do all that. But first, Coach Prime Deion Sanders got a fantastic idea for spring football. And this is in the midst of schools canceling their spring games outright. He's talking to you, Nebraska, Matt Rhule, Ohio State, USC, mostly Nebraska, by the way, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, all of you. Deion wants to play a spring game against another college football team. How about that? Instead of scrimmaging ones versus twos, offense versus defense, how about flying in another college football team and let's play an exhibition game? Awesome idea. Awesome idea. So the whole idea for Prime, he wants to hold a couple of days of joint practices against the other team and then have an exhibition game after that against them. The NFL does this all the time in the preseason and the summertime. Things get a little heated, but I think players appreciate going against another opponent instead of the same teammates day in and day out. I think coaches really get a better gauge of where they're at going against another team that doesn't know what's coming every play. And they like to evaluate players against live action. So Deion says, let's do that in college. What's wrong with that? Let's run a pro system here. College football is turning into pro football right before our very eyes anyway, right? Now, apparently, he's not the only one that thinks this is a fantastic idea. As soon as he floated that idea out across the media, Syracuse head coach Fran Brown immediately tweeted, quote, "We'll come to Boulder for 3 days," unquote. He's all in. By the way, if you never watched or listened to Fran Brown before, if you think Deion is a trip talking to the media, Fran's got talking to the media down pat too. He's a pretty entertaining guy. So, Brown had a successful year this year in 2024 at Syracuse. He had Ohio State transfer quarterback Kyle McCord, as you may remember. His team beat the Miami Hurricanes, knocked them out of the playoffs. But I digress. We're here to talk about this issue here today. But I point to Brown and a Syracuse team because they're in. They like the ideas. We got Deion. We got Coach Brown. We got, I think, multiple coaches would like this idea. Unfortunately, such an exhibition game in the spring is against NCAA rules. Boo. There we go again. The old NCAA with those pesky, outdated NCAA rules. Let's get the coaches together, start with a committee, get the coaches together, and have them demand that these rules be changed. Because I'm sure a lot of coaches would be into this. I'm sure all the TV networks would pay big dollars for something like this. And then with revenue sharing, the kids, the players, they get a cut as well. Because that's the era that we're at. And for people like Matt Rhule who are worried about your kids getting poached, we're going to address that again later. But maybe we still need to get rid of the spring transfer portal. Maybe. That's what I think really rubs Matt Rhule the wrong way at Nebraska. The spring portal's open while his kids are on display. Again, we'll circle back to that in just a little bit. But Deion says a real spring game against a real opponent would really help him evaluate his players better. He says such a game brings out higher intensity levels from the players, more so than scrimmages against teammates. And he's right. But Deion hates the fact that schools like Nebraska are canceling the spring games. He says the way the trend is going and canceling games, you never know if this is going to be our last spring game ever. And he says, I don't believe in that. And I don't want to condone that. So he's against it. He's against these schools canceling spring football. Now, for now, because of NCAA rules, the school versus school spring football exhibition format is going to have to wait. Coach Prime and the Buffs, by the way, will hold their regular inter-squad spring game on April 19th. That will air on ESPN2. I'll be able to watch it. Yes, the transfer portal's open, but I'm not poaching any players. I'm going to watch it. I want to see what not only Big Ten teams, but I want to see what Colorado looks like without quarterback Shedeur Sanders and Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter. You know, they'll be a week out from getting drafted in the NFL draft by the time this spring game takes place. I want to see the likes of quarterback Caden Salter and Julian Lewis, who we've been following here on Locked On Big Ten because he was a 5-star and then he was verbally committed to USC before Deion flipped him. He even had visits in Bloomington. He liked Kurt Signetti, and they were in the mix for a while back in the day. So there's some Big Ten ties there. Very interested in that. But Deion ultimately flipped them from USC. That's why we like to watch spring ball. How do the new teams look? Meanwhile, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, they were the ones that were the most vocal. We're not picking on them specifically, but they're the most vocal about canceling the spring game. Matt Rhule, very clear that he fears that the game airing on national TV and other people watching him definitely adds to the chances that his players will get poached and tampered with and lured away in the transfer portal. And that also his players are being put at a higher risk of getting injured. And that part you can't get rid of. But the poaching and the tampering and the transfer portal, Nebraska decides it's going to reduce its spring game to 7-on-7 drills and more of a carnival atmosphere. And the volleyball team's going to be involved and be some sort of fan fest on April 26th. Deion's answer to that actually looks like a direct shot at Matt Rhule. He said, man, you're not going to stop anybody from leaving your program but not having a spring game. He thinks it's ridiculous. He went on to say, you know, the real reason he says, if you want to save money and not have a spring game, then just say that. That's what Deion was implying was going on in Nebraska. But then he circled back to the portal and he said, look, man, if your kid's leaving, he's already gone. Whether he's going through spring football or going to the spring game or what, he's already gone. He's already reached out and contacted another school and vice versa. They're already gone. So you might as well have the spring game. Might as well do it. And again, Nebraska's got one of the most successful spring games out there. They had 60,000 people and a national television audience in the spring game last year. It's kind of a big deal. It's going to be an even bigger deal if we can get Deion Sanders' idea on board with some knuckleheads at the NCAA and let teams travel and play each other for a spring game. I mean, you imagine we get you can do it all over the place. And I don't think you redo any kind of rivalry or anything. Like, I'm not suggesting Michigan and Ohio State play a spring scrimmage against each other. That would probably not go well. But get Akron down to take on the Buckeyes in a spring game, right? That'd be cool. Central Michigan versus Michigan, something like that. I think that'd be a good idea. What do you think? Hit me up. Love to hear your comments on this. Comments on YouTube. That would be fantastic if you could chime in on that. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free and no personal information required. And as soon as you click it, you can follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way, you get the latest episode. As soon as it becomes available, you never miss a single episode of Locked On Big Ten. And I'll also ask you as a favor, if you don't mind, to share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten as well. Hey, don't forget, we also have a website. It's talkbig10.com. with the number 10. All of our podcasts go there. This one will go there when we're done. They're chronological, and they're also grouped by your favorite Big Ten schools. And they also have links if you want to buy some merchandise from your favorite school. If you're a Michigan fan, Indiana fan, get a Wolverine shirt, an IU hat, pennant for Ohio State, whatever. Got it right there at talkbig10.com. Hey, speaking of Indiana, they got a new basketball coach already. I mean, that was fast. Kind of curious how we got there so fast. We've got the storyline, the timeline. We'll share that with you. And as long as we were talking about spring football a minute ago, how about our spring football power rankings for 2025? I got all that next right here on Locked On Big Ten. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, and experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility to connect them with the top freelance talent out there across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, marketing, you name it, it's there. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable, gives you the personal touch so you find the right talent that you need with Freelance Expert right there. Free and easy hiring. You could posting a job, it's free and it's simple. And within a day, multiple qualified candidates will be at your fingertips to choose from. It's cost effective, and Upwork helps find affordable top freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. You know, life moves fast, especially when you have a family. And one day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You can be covered within 10 minutes. And in many cases, no health exam is required at all. So you get peace of mind. As a parent, you make sure your family's financially protected no matter what happens. Fabric gives everybody peace of mind with all this. Plus, affordable coverage. You can get millions of dollars of coverage for less than $1 a day. And beyond life insurance, Fabric also offers free digital wills and access to investment accounts that help you plan for your children's futures. Just join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Well, thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. Always appreciate that. And of course, you everydayers out there that make us go. Thank you so much. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And that way you can get this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And also check out our website, talkbig10.com. All right. The Indiana Hoosiers have a new basketball coach. It's a big deal. West Virginia's Darian DeVries is leaving West Virginia after one season to become the new Indiana basketball coach. DeVries was a bit of a surprise hire, but let's work through it here because it was an interesting story the way it came together. Ironically, both West Virginia and Indiana, they were in the first four out from the controversial Selection Sunday process for the NCAA tournament. IU Athletic Director Scott Dolson met with DeVries on Monday, and their deal quickly came together on Tuesday. DeVries replaces Mike Woodson, who stepped down as soon as the Hoosiers season was over. And of course, that created the opening. And in one way, maybe this wasn't such a surprise for the Hoosiers in that Dolson, he's getting a little bit of a track record with the way he hires, right? He likes to hire up and coming coaches from mid-majors who have a history of winning a lot of games. Now, West Virginia is not a mid-major, but DeVries was only there for a year. And he went 19-13, 10-10 in the Big 12. And as we mentioned, he barely missed the NCAA tournament. But before that, he was an up-and-coming coach at a mid-major and spent the bulk of his career there. Started to catch some people's eyes when he was at Drake for 6 seasons before going to West Virginia. 3 of those 6 seasons, he got into the NCAA tournament. And overall, he had a 150-win, 55-loss record. That's pretty good. And before his run at Drake, he had a 20-year stint as an assistant at Creighton. 17 of those years under Dana Altman, who's now at Oregon, and of course, Greg McDermott. And again, a program that wins a lot of games. That is something. Kurt Signetti, James Madison became their football coach. He won a lot of games there, taking that big step up to a Power 4 school at Indiana. And that turned out to be successful. So that seems to be the formula that Scott Dolson likes. And we'll see how this hire plays out. At West Virginia, DeVries had a buyout of just under $5 million. And Indiana seemed undaunted about that. They gave DeVries a 6-year deal. And another sidebar, Indiana has struggled with outside shooting for a while. DeVries' son, Tucker, he's a senior. He may come to Bloomington with his dad as well. He was the Missouri Valley Player of the Year in 2023 and 2024 and followed his dad to West Virginia, but he only played 8 games there this year because he suffered an upper body injury and missed the rest of the year. So he's expected to apply for a medical red shirt and have 1 more year of eligibility. And I'm going to assume, I only assume, I don't know this for a fact, that he will follow his dad and go play at Indiana. And, DeVries may have been attracted to Indiana as well with the opportunity. They have one of the best name, image, and likeness collectives in the country for basketball at around $7 million. And then there's the transfer portal, which automatically opens anytime there's a coaching change, but it's going to open for everybody on Monday as soon as we have the Sweet 16 field set. Those are the new rules. That's the new beginning. They pushed it back a little bit this year, which I think is reasonable. And I also think Scott Dolson was wise here to get this hire taken care of right away. With DeVries in place as the new head coach, he can hit the ground running. That portal is open and get things going quickly at Indiana. He also may have had to hit the gas on this one because DeVries is from Iowa native. And given his ties with Drake in Des Moines, the Iowa Hawkeyes may have been very interested in replacing Fran McCaffrey with DeVries as well. So I think Dolson had to move fast here, or he was going to find himself into the transfer portal period without a head coach, and that just would have slowed down the whole process. So, by the way, speaking of, I thought maybe Drake's current coach, Ben McCollum, might have been a candidate. Maybe he was, as far as Indiana goes, but he might very well get the Iowa job. There's a lot of talk about that. And the Minnesota Gophers job is still open with the firing of Ben Johnson. And Colorado State coach Nico Medved is a Minnesota native. He attended Minnesota. He was an assistant coach at Minnesota for a few years ago. He is believed to be the front runner there. Of course, Colorado State beat Boise State in the Mountain West Championship game on Saturday, and they're in the NCAA tournament right now, 3rd time in 4 years, and they went 25-9 this year and have a 10-game winning streak. And the Rams are now a 12 seed, taking on 5 seed Memphis and Seattle on Friday. So maybe Minnesota will have to wait until at least then. And by the way, Medved's also a former head coach at Furman and also coached Drake for a year. Everybody goes through Drake, apparently. The hotbed, the cradle of college basketball coaches. All right, so here we are on a Wednesday. Tomorrow, by the time these play-in games, first round games are done, we get started for real tomorrow, Thursday, early. Purdue, the 4 seed, Big Ten team in action against 13 seed High Point. That'll be at 12:40 on True TV Eastern Time. Again, as we reported yesterday, still waiting to hear on Fletcher Lawyer. He had a bad elbow for the Big Ten tournament. He's been cleared, so he should be good to go to play. I am concerned about Purdue having lost 4 in a row and 6 of their last 9 coming into the NCAA tournament. Also early, Wisconsin, usually red hot Wisconsin, did not look hot in the Big Ten championship game, but fourth game in 4 days, they were wiped out and taking on a pretty good defensive Michigan team as well. But now they got Montana, and that'll be at 1:30 Eastern on TNT. Montana is hot right now as well. To close out your Friday action, UCLA night game, 9:25. Did I say Friday? Thursday action. Thursday, Mick Cronin and UCLA, 9:25 Eastern, 6:25 Pacific on TNT against Utah State. And of course, UCLA with the number one scoring defense in the Big Ten. So they're going to try and grind you down. And then rounding out play on Thursday, Michigan, the 5 seed will take on 12 seed UC San Diego. That's at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific on TBS. Dusty Mayo, great job for the Wolverines there. We'll get more into the Friday schedule on tomorrow's podcast as we work our way through this week. But we are in the middle of the week, and that means on Wednesdays, we always do our power rankings. And so we're going to do power rankings with spring. We're going to circle back to spring football where we started this podcast out today. We're going to do our Big Ten spring football power rankings, where we stand right now. All that's coming up. We'll see where your team is on the list. That's next right here on Locked On Big Ten. You know, every time you look at your bank account, do you wonder, where'd all my money go? Where'd it go? You know, between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's real easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility to take control of your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, although it can do that. It's a complete finance command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. A lot of insights. You just realize how much money you may spend in this category on food or travel or whatever. It spells it all out for you. It's convenient. You don't have to juggle multiple apps or maybe payment apps here. Just put it all in one place. And managing money with your partner is also smooth. Again, his or her finances can all go together right there, and keep track of it with yours. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Again, that is the code LOCKEDONCollege for Monarch Money.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, middle of the week here. We always like to do our power rankings. Again, spring football is in the air, so let's take a look at our Big Ten power rankings, football, spring football edition. Love this stuff. All right, I'm going to put it on screen. If you're audio only, we'll describe it in detail for you here so you don't get lost. But I'm going to, look, it's kind of easy at the top here. We're going to put the Ohio State Buckeyes at number one. They just hung the national championship banners at the practice field this week. We had that on Tuesday tweets. Had a great picture of it, by the way. I'm very excited to see how quarterback Julian Sayin looks. Again, I like spring football, whether it be the games, practices. I like all this scoop, and a lot of intrigue with a talented Ohio State team. Going to look a little different, but that doesn't mean they're less talented. Julian Sayin at quarterback. I'm going to put Penn State at number 2. This whole season is up to Drew Allar. Does he take another step forward? Will we get a look at that in the spring? And if he doesn't take a step up, is the Penn State championship window closed? They've been getting kind of, they're right there. They're winning 10 games. They got in the playoffs this year. They got really close this year. Do they take a step back and they have to start over next year, 2026, with a new quarterback? So Drew Allar, this is his year. I've got Oregon in here. A lot of changes at Oregon, but they have some pretty good transfers that I'm excited about. Dante Moore, first of all, at quarterback. We'll see how he does replacing Dylan Gabriel. I've told you before on this podcast that Dylan Thieneman, the safety from Purdue, I think is one of the best transfer portal gets in all of college football, let alone the Big Ten. And that huge offensive tackle, Isaiah World, that they get from Nevada. Number 4, got Michigan. I think it's a nice bounce back year for Michigan. I think the playoffs are in play depending on how quick Bryce Underwood can develop as a quarterback. If not, then maybe we're a year early in saying that. Maybe by his second year, 2026, Michigan's really back for real. Got the Indiana Hoosiers at number 5. Can Kurt Cignetti get this team ready to match what they did last year? 11-1 and in the playoffs. Fernando Mendoza from Cal is their new quarterback. And don't forget, Notre Dame center Pat Coogan came over. That offensive line is going to be good for the Hoosiers again this year. At number 6, Illinois. What are they going to do following a 10-win season? Luke Altmaier, Brett Bielema, all ready to go. I think some people overlooked them last year. I do. Not me, not you, but some people. I got Iowa, Kirk Ferentz at number 7, just always because they're solid, even though, look, Iowa fans get frustrated with the offense and all that. They're always solid on defense, special teams. They know how to play football, good enough to have them in the upper half of the Big Ten. And Kirk Ferentz is 1 win away from Woody Hayes' all-time mark. They got Mark Gronowski from South Dakota State. He's their new quarterback, along with Brendan Sullivan, who comes back for another year. And remember, they lost LaShawn Williams, the running back. We'll see how they do there. At number 8, I've got the Dylan Raiola again, year 2. All right, we got to 7-6. We got Nebraska in a bowl game finally. No spring game. Will this hurt them? But we want to see Dylan Raiola year number 2. USC is hard to handicap. I got him at number 9. Jade Maeva back at quarterback. Huge year for Lincoln Riley, I think. They lost all those wide receivers in the transfer portal. They, too, are not having a spring game. At number 10, I got Washington. Jed Fish got to 6 wins, 6-7 after the bowl. Damon Williams, part of a 2-quarterback system last year, going to get the reps this year. I thought later in the year they should have switched to him, and they did eventually. Maybe it was a little late in the year. I'm excited about him. I think he's a good quarterback. I got Rutgers at number 11. And they got a lot of 3-star types in the transfer portal and recruiting. Just a lot of good players. Not great, more developmental. There's nothing wrong with that. Greg Schiano's a great coach. And I think if you're one of those promising developmental players, you go play for a guy like Greg Schiano at Rutgers. Michigan State, Jonathan Smith at number 12. How is year number 2 going to be? Well, it's all up to Aiden Childs. We need to see a jump by him at quarterback going into year 2 in the at Michigan State. And if he's very athletic, very talented, needs to cut down on turnovers. If he takes a big step forward, then I think Michigan State could take a big step forward as well. Minnesota at number 13. They got a couple of quarterbacks from Georgia Tech, Zach Pyron and also Drake Lonzy. I don't know too much about them. I will by the time we get rolling, but this is why I like spring football, so you can learn about these guys. And I was a little skeptical about Max Brosmer coming in last year, and he did just fine, even though he came in from New Hampshire, stepped up to some big boy football, and won some big games last year. I got Wisconsin at 14. Look, Luke Fickell, I think they gave him a contract extension. I think it was to avoid any controversy of him coming through year 3 and maybe still not showing an improvement, to kind of quiet things down. They have a brutal schedule this year at Wisconsin, and they still don't have quarterback, right? Unless this year Maryland transfer Billy Edwards, who did put up a lot of stats at Maryland, comes in and can air it out a little bit. Danny Onella out of San Diego State on the team as well. Maryland at 15, Mike Loxley, disappointing year last year. Even interviewed for some NFL gigs last year. They got UCLA quarterback Justin Martin coming in. We'll see what he can do from the transfer portal. Northwestern at 16. They'll have SMU quarterback Preston Stone. 2 years ago, they won 8 wins. This past year, they lost 8 games. We'll see what they do here in 2025. I still don't know what to expect out of UCLA. They got App State quarterback Joey Aguilar. They need defensive help. And Purdue, Barry Odom in his first year, I do not have a lot of expectations for. The bottom kind of fell out there under Ryan Walters in just 2 years. So what do you think? Those are the 2025 Big Ten Spring Football Power Rankings. Are we out of order? Are we out of line? How's your favorite team? Let me know. And we'll take a look at it at the end of spring, toward the spring games as well. All right. Still more basketball. Still always an eye on football. Tell your friends about us that we're out here each and every day. A lot of Big Ten fans and alumni, friends of yours, maybe don't know we're out here every day. We are growing leaps and bounds every day. I think we picked up like 1,300 new subscribers in the last month. Thanks to many of you. Thank you very much. Follow us on Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten. Also our website, talkbig10, 10.com. Where our podcast and all your school merchandise are if you want to pick up some there. Be sure to subscribe. It's free, and you'll never miss an episode of Locked On Big Ten. As soon as it's available each and every day, we're right there at your doorstep. Also, for a second listen, if you're done with us, always wouldn't mind it if you watch this one more time, another episode, maybe yesterday's episode. Catch that as well. We also have our friends Isaac Shade and Andy Patton from Locked On College Basketball. What better time to watch those guys than the month of March? You can find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. That'll do it for another episode. I always love our time together. I never take it for granted, and I can't wait until we meet again tomorrow. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman.